Our topic for today is all about inflation. So, what is inflation is a complex economic phenomenon that measures the sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a certain period. This connects. So, inflation rate in February. So, in this context, the report highlights a significant increase in the inflation rate in the Philippines in February, with a year inflation rate of 8.5%. This rate was higher than the previous month's figure of 8.4% and was primarily attributed to sharp increases in transport fares and the cost of various food items. The report suggests that this rise in inflation is a result of the hangover from the high inflation rates in the second half of the previous year. The economic explanation by Economic Planning Secretary Romulo Neri. The Economic Planning Secretary Romulo Neri noted that this elevated inflation level is expected to persist during the early months of the current year because the inflation rate during the early part of the previous year provided a low base of for the calculation of price increases. The report also highlights specific categories of products that experience significant price increases, including food beverages, tobacco, rice, cereal preparation, dairy products, fish, and miscellaneous foods, categories with higher inflation. Additionally, the text briefly mentioned a historical example of hyperinflation in Germany during the early 1920s. This extreme case serves as a cautionary example of the devastating impact of hyperinflation can have on an economy, including rendering currency virtually worthless and disrupting economic activities. In summary, inflation as observed in the Philippines in February reflects the continuous rise in consumer prices, which can be influenced by various factors such as changes in transportation costs and food prices. Understanding and managing inflation is a critical aspect of economic policy, as extreme cases like sorry for that one, like the hyperinflation, like sorry for that one. So, like the hyperinflation in the Germany, can have severe consequences for an economy. The provided text discusses the impact of inflation on South American economies and highlights the understandability of inflation due to its adverse effects on various groups. This connects slide overview. In South America, inflation has been prevalent, with prices rising by an average of 20 to 30% annually for a decade or more. Despite these high inflation rates, the economics in the region continue to function, but economic activities is distorted as businesses strive to maximize advantages from inflation. Real estate speculation becomes a favored investment in many of those countries during such period. The understandability of inflation is then explained in the context of economic plans and policies aimed at improving people's standards of living. Inflation undermines these objectives in several ways. It connects these connects. First one is impact on incomes. So people with fixed income suffer during inflation as the purchasing power of their income diminishes. Their ability to buy goods and services decreases as prices rise. Next, effect on pensioners. Pensioners relying on fixed benefits such as those from SSS or the government service insurance system experience net loss due to inflation under their benefit are adjusted to match the inflation rate. Next one is the losses for creditors or creditors' loss. Creditors also face losses during inflation as the fixed amount of principal and interest they lent out becomes devalued. If the interest rate charge is lower than the inflation rate, creditors experience a net loss. The underlying issue is a depreciation in the purchasing power of the local currency, which is the peso, leading to a decrease in the people's ability to buy goods and services. The text emphasizes the culture of individuals contributing to the overall understandability of inflation. So that will be my part, and let's welcome the next reporter. Yeah. Yeah. Nag-off ka, ay nag-kuan ka. Nag-off yung mic.
Oh, sorry for that. I am the second reporter. Inflation gainers. Inflation gainer investment are assets that tend to perform well during periods of inflation. This is because they have characteristics that allow them to maintain or increase their value as price and broader economy rise. Some example of inflation gainer assets include: first, real estate. Real estate investment can benefit from inflation because property values and rental incomes often increase as the cost of living rises. Commodities. Certain commodities like gold, silver, and oil are seen as hedges against inflation, as their price often move in tandem with inflationary pressures. Stock of inflation resilient companies. Stock in companies that have pricing power, allowing them to pass on increased costs to consumers, are considered good inflation hedges. Second slide, please. Next slide. Demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when there is an excess of demand of goods and services in an economy relative to their supply. This leads to rising price. Key points understand about demand pull inflation. Increased consumer demand. A surge in consumer spending often due to factors like increased consumer confidence, income, or credit availability can drive up prices. Government spending. Government policies that increase spending on public projects, welfare, or infrastructure can also boost demand. Investment. Business investment, particularly in expansion and modernization, can increase the demand for goods and services. Central bank reaction. Central bank may respond to demand pull inflation by raising interest rates to reduce borrowing and spending, which can cool down the economy. Money supply. The total amount of money in circulation, including physical currency, deposit, and other liquid assets. Price level. The average price of goods and services in the economy. Velocity of money. The rate the rate at which money circulates is through the economy. A higher velocity typically implies more transaction. Quantity of goods and services. The total volume of goods and service produced and exchanged in the economy. Quantity theory of money. The quantity theory of money is the monetary theory that links the money supply to the general price level in an economy. The key elements of their theory include. Okay na po. Done. Next reporter, please. Isa next si Lori.
Ako ani, price increase.
Theory of money.
Okay.
The theory of money encompasses various economic theories and concepts related to the nature, function, and roles
theory of money.
in economic.
Excuse.
Saan di, uy?
Kami money. Kana. Kang Lori na. I think kang Lori na.
Di, uy, kay Kona. Kay Pat, no? Oh.
I-inform lang nato si sir na wala na si Pat.
Oh, it's not mine.
Okay, next na ta.
Kung hindi na mo, kuhan? Inabas ko pa. Tagatay mo.
Ako sa report. Next.
Kang Zain sa ta.
Sige, harap. Kana. Mana, team.
So next is the measurement of price increases. A key concept related to inflation in economics. Inflation refers to the general increase in prices of goods and services over time. Measuring price increases is crucial for understanding the impact of inflation on an economy. Two common methods for measuring price increases are the CPI or the Consumer Price Index and the Retail Price Index or the IPI. So next please. Excuse. So for the Consumer Price Index, the Consumer Price Index is a widely used measure of inflation that tracks the changes in the prices of a basket of goods and services commonly purchased by the average household. The CPI is designed to reflect the inflationary impact on the typical consumer's cost of living. It includes items such as food, housing, transportation, healthcare, and entertainment. CPI is calculated by comparing the cost of the basket of goods and services in a given year to a base year, and then expressing the change as a percentage. This percentage represents the inflation rate. The CPI is used for various purposes, including adjusting wages, pensions, and social security benefits to account for changes in the cost of living. So the CPI or the Consumer Price Index is a measure used to gauge the average changes in prices. In prices consumers pay for a basket of goods and services over time. It tracks the cost of essential items such as food, housing, transportation, education, and healthcare. So it is calculated by a base period as a reference point and then comparing the prices of the same basket of goods and services in a subsequent periods. These comparisons reveals the percentage change in prices indicating inflation or deflation rates. So governments, policymakers, businesses, and economists extensively use the CPI to make informed decisions about economic policies, wage adjustments, social security benefits, and investment strategies. It provides valuable insights into the overall economic health, purchasing power, and standard of living with a country. So next slide, please. So next is the Retail Price Index. So the Retail Price Index is another measure of inflation in the United Kingdom and is similar to the CPI in that it tracks changes in the prices of a basket of goods and services. So similar to the CPI, the RPI monitors price changes over time, but it includes a broader range of expenses, encompassing housing costs such as mortgage, interest payments, council tax, and some other items not covered in the CPI. Initially, the RPI was the primary measure of inflation in the UK. However, since 2013, the UK Statistics Authority has favored the Consumer Prices Index, including owner occupiers housing cost or the CPIH, as a primary inflation measure. Nevertheless, RPI is still widely used in the certain contracts, including some pensions and investments. So the RPI is calculated by assessing changes in the prices of a representative basket of goods and services from a specified base period. It is used to provide insights into changes in the cost of living, allowing individuals, businesses, and policymakers to understand inflationary trends and make informed decisions regarding budgeting, wage negotiations, investment strategies, and more. So, next reporter, please.
Okay na?
Logo. Ikaw na.
So as we move on to the next topic, we have the wholesale price index. Wholesale price index is a crucial economic indicator that measures the average change in the price of goods at the wholesale level. It serves as an essential tool for policymakers, economies, and businesses to monitor and analyze inflationary trends in an economy. And also, the wholesale price index is calculated by taking into account the price changes in the basket of goods and services that commonly traded by the wholesale market. These goods include raw materials, intermediate goods, and finished goods. The index is weighted based on the relative importance of each item in the basket, reflecting the overall price movement of the wholesale sector, management, and pricing, ultimately affecting their profitability. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, the index of meaning is a concept. An index is widely used in various fields, from finance to statistics and even in everyday life. An index is essentially a numerical representation that provides a measure or indication of something. It serves as a concept of it serves as a reference point or benchmark for comparison and analysis. In the field of economics, an index is used to measure changes in the price level of goods and services over time. The Consumer Prices Index is a commonly used index that measures the average price change of a basket of goods and services purchased by households. So beyond finance and economics, indices are also used in various other fields. In education, for example, an index can be used to measure the academic performance of students or schools. In climate change, indices are used to track and analyze changes in temperature, rainfall, or other environmental factors. In the digital world, search engines use algorithms to create indices of which pages, making it easier for users to find relevant information. So in conclusion, an index is a numerical representation that provides a measure or indication of something. It serves as a benchmark of comparison and analysis in various fields, including finance, economics, statistics, and beyond. Understanding the meaning of index is essential for making informed decisions, monitoring trends, and gaining insights into the great aspect of our world. And next is the index number. The index number is a statistical measure designed to show changes in a variable or a group of related variables like price, quantity, and value, with respect to time, geographical location, or other characteristics such as income and profession. And also we have the four types of commonly used index numbers or indices, which is consumer price index, retail price index, and wholesale price index, and the last one is cost living index. So those are the commonly used index numbers, and we also have three types of relatives, which is the price relative, quantity relative, and the value relative. So next slide, please. So for the base year, to make the explanation short, the base year plays a vital role in economic analysis by providing a reference point for measuring changes in economic variables over time. It is used in calculating inflation rates, real GDP, and constructing price indices. Furthermore, it has practical implications for individuals and businesses in assessing the real value of investment and income. By understanding the significance of the base year is essential for making informed economic decision and interpreting economic data accurately. So that's all for my part. Next reporter, please.
So, good day everyone. I am the last reporter, so price index numbers. There are three there are three types of price index numbers. One, price relative. Two, unweighted price index. C, aggregate price index. B, average of price relatives. Three, weight price index. Las Paris index. Index. Um, Price index are numerical representations of the relative changes in the prices of a selected set of goods and services. They are used to measure inflation or deflation and are typically expressed as percentages. Unweighted price indexes. The unweighted price index, also known as the simple or unweighted aggregate price index, calculates the average price change of items without taking into account their importance or weight. Each item is given equal significance, which may not accurately represent the average consumer's spending patterns. So, the unweighted price index is a simple measure of average price changes for a group of items, where each item is rated without considering significance. It is calculated by comparing the total cost of the items in the current period to the total cost in a base period, or expressed as a percentage. Weight price index numbers. The quantity of each commodity enters to computation. This eliminates the disadvantages of an unweighted index number. Weight price index numbers adjust for the relative importance of items within the basket of goods and services. Items that are more commonly purchased are given greater weight in the calculation. This reflects a more accurate picture of how changes in prices affect the average consumer cost of living. So weight price index numbers factor in the importance of each item, assigning greater weight to more significant items. This approach provides a more accurate reflection of overall price changes. Last, Measures to curb inflation. Monetary policy. Central banks can adjust interest rates and money supply to influence inflation. Raising interest rates can, can reduce spending and slow down inflation. Central banks such as the Federal Reserve in the United States or the European Central Bank can use interest rates as a tool. By raising interest rates, borrowing becomes more expensive, leading to reduced spending and investment. This decrease in demand helps to cool down inflation. Fiscal policy. Governments may adjust taxes and government spending to manage demand and curb inflation. Governments can adjust tax rates to influence disposable income. Higher taxes reduce disposable income, leading to lower consumer spending and consequently reduce demand-driven inflation. By cutting government spending, authorities can reduce overall demand in the economy, helping to control inflation. Wage and price controls. Some governments impose control on wages and prices to prevent rapid inflation. This is when increased wages led to higher production costs, resulting in business raising prices and the cycle continues. Governments can direct, directly pricing of certain goods and services to prevent them from rising too rapidly. However, this measure is often considered a short-term solution and can lead to distortions in the market. Exchange rate policy. Managing a country's rate can impact the prices of imported goods and inflation. Managing the exchange can impact the cost of imports. If a country's currency depreciates, it can make imported goods inexpensive, contributing to inflation. On the other hand, currency appreciation can have the opposite effect. Last, supply side policies. Measures to improve productivity and reduce production costs can have a long-term impact on inflation. Policies at enhancing productivity, such as investment in technology, education, and infrastructure, can lead into increased output without a corresponding increase in prices, helping to inflationary pressures. That's all.
So that ends our report. Thank you so much for listening.